Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalano along with Dan Fates. Jenna Cottrell gets the Veterans Day off today, spending a little time with Ben and Val.
Shout out Ben and Val.
That is Jenna's parents who came in to watch camp today. So let's move into what we saw. But first, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Jenna would be reminding me to remind you. All right, let's get started with this. Today, offense against defense. The other day, defense dominated. Today, Dan, what'd you see?
Yeah, I thought the offense had a much better day. I thought Josh Allen, much more controlled. Guys were actually getting open. They weren't in pads. They were just in the shells, so it wasn't as physical of a day, but I thought the offense looked cleaner. Gabe Davis was making catches. Stephon Diggs did not practice today. I don't think it's any reason to be concerned.
No, it was just a Veterans Day off, rest day for him.
But Dawson Knox made a couple nice catches, and quietly, Tommy Sweeney, the guy from Boston College, the forgotten tight end, I feel like, made two really nice catches. He's probably had a stronger camp than OJ Howard, and that's not saying much. But we talked about how they maybe want to go with more two tight end sets, Tommy Sweeney, sneaky, quietly good day.
I agree with you there. You got to be able to catch the ball when it comes to you. And if you're Tommy Sweeney and you get on the field, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities. Yep. You got to catch the ball. And players have said that to us, when you're down the depth chart there a little bit and you get those chances. Now, look, blocking at the point of attack, second tight end, I think that is job one for that second tight end. Yeah. But when the ball comes, you got to catch it. And it was two nice plays, especially the one in the end zone.
End zone, back shoulder throw from Case Keenum, went back, contested catch, caught it. It was so good that the entire offense came onto the field to celebrate. So that goes to show you it's one of those energy plays from a guy.
And you know the guy that they're kind of rooting for, too, because you can tell by the reaction. And Tommy Sweeney is a popular guy. Yep. And so he did that, and then that was a big positive for him.
And I think something we've talked about and I've criticized so much so far through training camp is we started to see the five guys on the offensive line that we've been hoping to see. Spencer Brown, Ryan Bates, Morse, Saffold, and Dawkins were all out there together. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the offense started to play better today when they could have starting offensive linemen blocking for him.
Yeah, we'll get to the defense now. Let's talk a little bit about Leslie Frazier and what he had to say about it, because his defense has looked really good. I think he's feeling like, I got a lot of weapons, and I think because of maybe the injuries to the safeties and the uncertainty at corner, that it's really focused on the front seven, and front seven plus have looked really good.
Yeah, and he talks about how they're going to try and figure out their rotations. Obviously, the preseason game coming up on Saturday, how they're going to try and work it out. And is this the only time you get to really see how they're going to rotate? And he's like, Leslie with every single answer is just so eloquent and just the best answer, thoughtful answers every single time. I asked him a terrible question. He still gave me a great answer. But he talked about how a lot of this stuff isn't just the preseason game. It's matchups that they want to create. So it'd be interesting to see how they rotate. Again, we have no idea about starters yet, but the preseason game is going to be one of those first chances that you get to see the depth, and I'll be watching who's still playing in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's usually the thing that always perks up to me.
Yeah, because it's just the 3 games this year, so that is interesting because, let's be honest, if you're playing in the fourth quarter of a preseason game, you're either a guy they've already pegged as a potential practice squad guy, could also be a guy that have pegged to not be on the roster. I mean, that can happen too. Because when we look out here, there's 90 guys out here, and plus the practice squad and everything, there's 35 guys that are here that aren't going to be part of the roster in one way or the other. So that's always the case. By the way, if you were at practice today, that was not Jordan Poyer on the field wearing 21. It was Jordan Phillips.
Unless Jordan Poyer bulked up. That's the new hardest hitting safety in the NFL, Jordan Phillips. The entire practice wore Jordan Poyer's number. And Joe Brady even came up to him early on in practice when we all were like, that's okay. And he goes, looking good, Poe.
Yeah.
Phillips like, yeah, thanks, coach. Did some footwork drills, gave him like a high to big hug. It was but again, that is who he is. That's the juice that he brings.
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was. And by the way, Jordan Poyer, the actual Jordan Poyer, was on the sidelines again, watching practice. That's the way it's going to go. We'll get a better idea tomorrow on what they'll say about the preseason But, Dan, I don't expect to see any starters on Saturday.
No, I really don't. Along with some of the injuries that they've already had, I just don't see any starters in this game taking any meaningful snaps by any count.
Yeah, the only starters I think you're going to see is Tyler Bass kicking. Yeah. I really don't know what the case is going to be. All right, speaking of guys who will play, we got a chance to talk to Christian BENFORD today. You're doing a story on him, and interesting guy coming from where he did at Villanova, making this transition as a draft pick and a defensive back for the Bills.
Leslie Frazier said when they drafted him that they never thought that the game would be too big, coming from a Division I AA, not a Power 5 school by any means. And he's been one of the training camp darlings. I think he's been maybe a hair more impressive than Kyer, just in looking at some splash plays. BENFORD's made some of those. Kyer's been very steady. And Sean McDermott said he's got a soft spot in his heart for a small school guy. And I asked Christian about that, and he said that meant something, that your coach knows where you came from. Obviously, Sean McDermott from William and Mary, it just perked up with him. And he kind of is like, yeah, it means a lot to know that your coach knows where you come from. He goes, because a lot of us are, we're overlooked, we're said we're not going to make it, and here he is.
Yeah, I asked him about the big moment coming to the NFL. He's having none of that. He doesn't think that way because he's so locked in on what his job is. And I asked him about Saturday night, walking out on the field. He's like, nope. He actually joked and said, maybe I'll think about that kind of stuff when I retire.
Yeah.
Hasn't played his first game yet. One other thing I wanted to get to is, it looks like we do have a kicking competition. This would be for the emergency kicker, I'm guessing, right?
I agree.
Because it's Tyler Bass kicking. Then I'm assuming it's whoever wins the punting competition kicking. And then we saw some guys out there giving it a shot.
Couple of extra points made really smooth by Micah Hyde.
Yeah, he can kick.
Dawson Knox.
Yep.
Barkley was off on his first one, got it going on his second one. So it looked somewhat decent for a guy. Like I said, everybody always thinks kicking is so easy until you actually come out here and try and kick a ball and not hurt yourself.
Yeah. Isaiah McKenzie, of course, had to take a shot too. Now, you were under that. Could you? I couldn't tell. I thought it might have gone a little wide left.
I thought McKenzie's was wide.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, they were just lining up over here and kicking. There was no rush.
Yes.
They were not doing that. But it is nice to see the way Micah Hyde can kick the ball in case they need somebody.
And if you stayed through this end of the video, I'll tease it in the title. Mike, I want to get your thoughts on, we talk about guys that are playing or may not play. The rumors are swirling about a possible OBJ to Buffalo. Obviously, Von Miller with the post saying, with him in a Bills jersey. I love how they already have that, and saying, like, come on, let's go back and, run it back again. Your thoughts, your likelihood of it happening. From what I've heard, they are kicking the tires. I think Ian Rappaport also said that there are conversations. Where do you think this goes? Would it make sense from your standpoint?
Certainly, you're talking about a very talented guy, and you can find a place for somebody like that in your wide receiver rotation. How's that sound? He is coming off the ACL. You're going to want to know how he is. But he did make a massive contribution to the Rams when he went to them, and he can play. The question is, are they ready to make that move? And is it going to be at a time when the Bills are ready to make a move like that? Because there will be other teams interested in him too.
Yep.
Now, Von Miller, I think that's a nice little pull. Josh Allen, I think that's a nice little pull to have those guys.
Super Bowl favorites.
Yes.
Also a thing that helps.
With Diggs, with Gabe Davis. Like, look, Gabe Davis can play everywhere. So I'll say this. I would not dismiss it out of hand. I think there's a lot of things that have to happen. I think there's a reason to be confident in the group they have right now. But come on, if you're the Bills in this spot and a guy like that is out there and interested, you got to kick the tires and then maybe do a little more.
I think OBJ right now is different than what he was with the Giants or the Browns or anything like that. He is not this household name anymore. I think they'd be asking him to come in to be the 2B wide receiver. They wouldn't ask him to run the offense through him by any means, but you even saw what he did with the Rams with a competent offense that he still has some gas left in the tank. I think it's a high reward, lower risk. I don't think OBJ is a distraction by any means. Because the Bills are so good, OBJ coming in is like, they added another piece, like what the Rams did. I don't think this is by any means a media circus or of any kind. OBJ is not at that status anymore, and I think it makes a lot of sense to at least be interested. I think it'd be a nice pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is an old school Patriots move.
Yes.
When they were really good.
Yep.
and they could bring a guy in.
Yep.
And I think you're right. You know, the whole time the Giants and Cleveland, there was all this stuff. So I think that went away when he went to the Rams. I really do think he did. And I think maybe he changed a little bit too. But you can see a couple of dysfunctional franchises in different ways that he was playing with. Gets to the Rams. They are established. They've got the quarterback and the veteran quarterback. And he helps them get to the Super Bowl and then win, even though he got hurt in the game.
We talked about Vaughn being a recruiter, the Bills being, Josh Allen and that. Did he play with Trey at LSU? They had to be around that similar time of 2015, 2016, 2017 when OBJ and Trey White were both at LSU together. So that would be another interesting connection. A lot of pieces, a lot of things make sense for the Bills to make a move to get another wide receiver.
Yeah. Again, I don't think the Bills are the only team that would be out there.
Also, if the Bills get him, he can't go to Kansas City. That's another thing. You keep him away from teams that you may have to play against.
Yeah, you mean you save him
Yes.
for when you get him in the playoffs? Look, if he comes to the Bills, I still think it's a process. When you look at when he had that surgery, I mean, you are talking about February when he had the surgery.
Yep.
And, again, as we've heard, everybody comes back differently. But you mentioned Trey, who's not back out on the field. There are other guys who were a little later than Trey with a torn ACL who are now back. So it's hard to judge when a guy's physically going to be ready.
Yep.
But when they sign him, if they do, and he's ready, he's going to play. And he'll play in Kansas City. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
He'll play. He'll play
100%.
there and then play in Orchard Park when they play him
100%.
in the playoffs.
Yep. Like I said, I think that's the 6th, 7th best thing about getting OBJ on your team is that you wouldn't have to face him with Patrick Mahomes throwing to him in an AFC championship game.
Yeah, because, well, other teams are going to be interested in him too. So let's see what ends up happening. All right, one more day here at St. John Fisher before they head back to Orchard Park and get ready for the game coming up on Saturday. Again, thanks for being with us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For Jenna, who has the day off, and Dan Fates, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching Buffalo Plus.
And then we leave the walk-in.
It's like Collinsworth. It's like the Collinsworth slide.